Hi, this is Annie Coburn with Fab Places. Welcome to Santa Barbara, California. What we're going to do today is show you some of the highlights of Santa Barbara, like the Mission, the Presidio, some of the museums here, some great places to shop and walk along this community. This is a gorgeous community, blue skies, wonderful ocean, great beaches, and lots to do. So come on, let's enjoy Santa Barbara, California. Behind me is the Santa Barbara Courthouse. That is a wonderful example of Spanish Revival Architecture, one of 3 buildings here in Santa Barbara. And it is a beautiful building that was finished in 1929, just before the big crash. And why is this such an important building?
Well, first of all, it's a great piece of architecture. Very beautiful building. It's been received by the community, warmly received, and it is on the National Register of Historic Buildings.
And why was Spanish or colonial Spanish architecture such the rage?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the Spanish Colonial Revival really started with the opening of the Panama Canal.
Of course.
Before that time, everything was colonial revival.
Okay.
Or classical revival.
Oh, okay.
The Spanish movement was because of the interest in the West Coast in its Spanish origins. Mm-hmm. And so it started in 1915 with the expositions down in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And in 1924, this earthquake brought down the house in Santa Barbara, and the replacements on commercial, institutional, residential, there was a big movement to build in the image of a Spanish town.
Right.
What you see here on the facades, all of them, are variations in the theme of Spanish colonial revival.
Here we are at the Presidio. Now the Presidio was a garrison that protected the soldiers that came here early on, like 1780.
1782 was when the Presidio was founded.
Okay, so they come into the area and they build this walled community. Tell me a little bit about who the people were that lived within the walls of the Presidio.
Well, first of all, there were the soldiers. Mm-hmm. There were their families. Mm-hmm. There were other helpers and workers who came along with them, mainly from Mexico and from Southern California. They all came up on horseback, and this was actually before they brought in things by ship.
Okay, now what we see now is a lot of the adobe brick in front of the Presidio.
It's the Presidio Chapel.
The Presidio Chapel, and that was like the first chapel in this area.
Right.
It even preceded the Mission.
Yes. So the chapel was built. The Comandante's headquarters, who would have been the military arm, was on the one side, I don't know which, and then on the other side was the priest's quarters.
Oh, okay.
This is before the Mission now.
Howard, here we are in front of the Santa Barbara Museum of Art. But this building has quite a history to it. Tell us a little bit about how this building started and evolved into being an art museum.
Okay, so this building was built in 1919 as a post office.
Oh, okay.
Funded by the federal government. It was built in the classical revival style.
So we see the arches, right?
Formal Roman arches.
Arches,
yeah.
okay.
So in 1937, the federal government funded a new post office. Several years later, fell into the possession of the Santa Barbara Art Museum. This little building over here was built solely to enclose the mural that was painted by Cisqueros, Mexican artist who was an apprentice of Diego Rivera. When the post office was built in 1919, the stairs that we are standing on were a lawn. And it's a sloped lawn down to the street. Over the years, they wanted to have more plaza in 1940, and they created this plaza, and this wall, the concrete wall, ran the full length of the property. And it tended to elevate and separate the common people from the art people. So they pierced the wall and put the steps in so that now the common people can ascend the staircase to culture and art.
That's great. That's great. I love it. Howard and I are standing in front of the Santa Barbara Mission. Now, this mission is known as the Queen of the Missions. And Howard is going to tell us a little bit about the history of the mission and why this is such a famous and popular visitor location. So Howard, tell us a little bit about how the mission got started.
This mission was founded in 1786 by Father Junipero Serra. And Father Junipero Serra also dedicated the Presidio. Now, he was a man who walked many miles up and down California, and he founded 22 missions.
Oh, wow.
So the mission was built originally with local materials and local labor. And this mission was completed probably in the late 1780s. It was just a very simple single structure. The long structure to the left there was not part of that original mission.
Okay. Now, what did they use the additions for?
They were for the living quarters for the priests. They were offices. They also had shops in there. And there is a very wonderful museum, probably one of the best in California, that displays the artifacts and the life from the life that existed at the time of the missions. There's a courtyard, and now they have archives and library and other studies. This is a great, it's a research center.
Is this still a practicing
it is.
church?
It is. People get married here.
Married?
People
okay.
are births and baptisms and so forth.
Right.
Yes, and burials.
Okay. And they do tours?
They have excellent tours. I mentioned the museum. And they have tours connected with the museum. You can take your own self-guided tour, or you can take with a docent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Very good.
Okay.
Beautiful. The
Right.
Queen of the Missions.
Yes.
Here we are in front of Stearns Wharf. Now, Stearns Wharf played a critical role in the development of Santa Barbara.
Shortly after the completion of Stearns Wharf, actually about the time, much of shipping arrived and departed by steamship. So the steamships brought passengers, brought tourists. Previously, those tourists would have arrived by train. So Santa Barbara's economy was also bolstered by the influx of a lot of tourist travel. So the buildings that you see on the wharf today are shops. There's a maritime museum there. There's the restaurants, several, and there's a wonderful crab shack there where you can go and have fresh crab, and it's a great place to stroll.
So now when our visitors come to Santa Barbara, what they can do is go on Stearns Wharf and have something to eat or shop a little bit, go to the Maritime Museum, enjoy going out into...
They have canoes here.
Canoes.
There's a lot of recreational activity and recreational use of the waterfront.
And it's a beautiful beach.
So the waterfront is a rich recreational and historical and just a wonderful place to experience a part of Santa Barbara.
Let's take a stroll down Stearns Wharf.
All right.
On your visit to Santa Barbara, be sure and stroll down State Street, where you'll find many local shops and national merchants as well. There's no scarcity of art to look at, great food to eat, and wonderful old theaters like the Arlington and the Granada. So when you come to Santa Barbara, be sure and relax, people watch, and enjoy the scenery here in Santa Barbara.